Weathered plaster is a water-based, eco-friendly decorative plaster made with finely ground ceramic beads. This fantastic product is perfect for creating sandstone, suede, limestone, cracked plaster, and more. It rolls on easy to any wall surface and is an ideal choice for anyone looking to add a natural, organic texture to their living environment. Each gallon goes a long way, covering approximately 200 square feet. So if you're yearning for a finish that brings the outdoors in, try weathered plaster today. Here's what you'll need to begin. Weathered plaster, dead flat varnish, fizzy pigment, a plastic float, a sea sponge, a cellulose sponge, a velour roller, and a rolling tray. You're now ready to get started. Step 1. Roll out 2 coats of weathered plaster using our special velour roller. Slowly roll the plaster to achieve a smooth and even base coat. Let dry for 1 hour. Step 2. Dip a sea sponge into warm water and squeeze out all excess water. Now immediately dip your sea sponge into weathered plaster using the prickly side of the sponge. Randomly sponge on another layer of weathered plaster, creating an interesting pattern of peaks. Cover the entire surface, connecting your sponging pattern. Let dry for 1 minute. This step will add interest and additional texture. Step 3. While the plaster is still damp, knock back the texture with a plastic float. This is done by gently skimming the surface with the plastic float. The plastic float will flatten all of the peaks that you created with your sea sponge. Let dry for 1 hour. Step 4. Dip a cellulose sponge into warm water and squeeze out excess water. Now dip your cellulose sponge into the fizzy pigment mixture and squeeze once again. Offload your sponge onto a clean rag. Using small circular motions, gently rub fizzy pigment over the plaster. As you spread the pigment, you will be exposing all of the texture left behind by the roller and sponge. Flip the sponge over and repeat the circular motions. Wring out your sponge frequently to maintain a soft, muted fresco look. Step 5. Seal the fizzy pigment with dead flat varnish for protection. This can be applied with a cellulose sponge or a velour roller. 1 coat is sufficient for protection. Here's some helpful tips the pros use. Sponge on the weathered plaster generously to ensure great texture. Let the plaster dry for several minutes before knocking back. When using the fizzy pigment mixture, wring out your sponge frequently. Do not use a lot of water. Now let's recap. Roll out 2 smooth, even coats of weathered plaster. Sponge on weathered plaster using a sea sponge in a random pattern. While weathered plaster is still damp, knock back texture with a plastic float. Wash over weathered plaster with fizzy pigment using a cellulose sponge. Seal with dead flat varnish. Now that you've learned the basics of weathered plaster, please feel free to view the video titled Taking It a Step Further, where you'll learn different ways to apply this versatile product. You're now ready to faux like a pro.